In Palestine, social movements denounced the forced displacement of the people of Gaza following constant Israeli attacks. Hurricane Milton left Florida and headed to the Atlantic Ocean, leaving strong flooding, large power outages, and 4 dead in its wake. And in Haiti, the mayor of Saint Marc, Miriam Fierro, reported that criminal gun attacks have resulted in 115 civilian deaths. Hello, welcome from the south. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, social movements denounced the forced displacement of the people of Gaza following constant Israeli attacks. Israeli military operations make life in the coastal enclave unsustainable. In this sense, authorities warn that the short time given for the evacuation makes the movement difficult and puts the life of Palestinians at risk. Social movements request protection for civilians in compliance with the provisions of international humanitarian law. Palestinian authorities reported on Wednesday that at least 28 civilians were killed and others wounded following new Israeli airstrikes on schoolhousing displaced people in the city of Jabalia. Palestinian representatives also denounced an advanced stage of ethnic cleansing by the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian people. And thousands of citizens in the city of Beirut embarked a worship of Turkey after Israeli attacks on Lebanon. The warship, named TCG Bayraktar, sailed from the port of Mersin, Turkey, carrying 300 tons of supplies, including food, sanitary kits, kitchen utensils, tents, beds, and blankets. The warship had been sent to Lebanon to provide aid and bring back Turkish nationals and some foreigners following Israeli airstrikes, which had targeted the country in recent weeks. Turkish officials and the government affirmed that military evacuations and charter flights will be organized, if necessary, to repatriate Turkish nationals in Lebanon.
It's indescribable. They bombed the street below our house. From that moment on, it was over for me. I said I didn't want to stay in Beirut anymore. From that moment on, Beirut was over for me.
The United Nations Special Coordinator for Lebanon, Janine Hennis-Plasschaert, warned about the escalating humanitarian crisis in the region, calling the situation desperate.
Facing a conflict and a humanitarian crisis of catastrophic proportions. Now, as you know, this afternoon we are connecting from Beirut, and I can tell you without reservation that the situation is dire. Unrelenting bombardment is now part and parcel of daily life in Lebanon, with the latest blasts not even 30 minutes ago. Far too many people are paying an unimaginable price, with over 2,000 killed, many more wounded, and hundreds of thousands displaced.
In the same context, the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for Lebanon, Imran Reza, denounced that paramedic teams and health workers are the main victims of the attacks in the region.
Healthcare and frontline workers have come under attack, as have civil defense centers and water supply systems, pushing essential services to the brink of collapse. The killing of over 100 paramedics, healthcare workers, and public servants impairs Lebanon's emergency response capacity. This must stop. Even wars have rules.
Palestine, on Thursday, the Israeli army bombed the Rufaida school in the central governorate of Deir al-Balah in the Gaza Strip. From the site where thousands of displaced Gazans were being evacuated, our correspondent Huda Hagazi has more information.
A few moments ago, the Israeli army bombed one of the schools in one of the central governorates of the Gaza Strip, the governorate of Deir al-Balah. I am at this moment in the school that was just targeted by the Israeli troops. We are talking about a school that evacuated hundreds and thousands of Gazans who are, as we can see in these first moments after the bombing, trying to dig out from under the rubble the victims and wounded left by this severe aggression. The current situation is still quite tense, as the exact number of victims is unknown. But so far, 17 deaths have been reported, a figure that could increase at any moment since most of the injured are in critical condition and because there are victims still trapped under the rubble. Due to the bombing, the victims have been completely dismembered, and so they are still trying to get the remains out of from under all this rubble and under all these ruins. I would like to add that this school is located in the humanitarian zone in the governorate of Deir al-Balah and should not have been attacked. In addition, this school is very close to the International Red Cross organization, so we are talking about the fact that Israel bombed one of the schools in a humanitarian zone. The bombing took place in the early afternoon at a time when the Gazans were in the street. There was a lot of movement, especially since it is located in a central street, in a street where there are organizations, stores, and that is why there were a large number of Gazans killed, why there were so many victims.
Israel bombed them when these people were calm and safe in this school, a school full of women, old people, children. What is Israel doing? Even if there was a wanted person, why are they bombing a school? Why are they doing this collective slaughter? Enough of war. Where are the Arab and free countries of the world?
As I mentioned before, the number of victims so far has reached 17 but could increase. The wounded are reported to be more than 50, therefore we are talking about a full-fledged genocide. This wasn't the first or the only school that has been bombed by Israel. More than 190 schools have been bombed by the Israeli army, as unfortunately their massacres continue here in the Gaza Strip.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Thursday, Hurricane Milton left Florida and headed to the Atlantic Ocean. As per the National Hurricane Center's 8 a.m. Thursday update, Category 1 Hurricane Milton is 120 kilometers east-northeast of Cape Canaveral, Florida, with maximum sustained winds of 137 kilometers per hour. The storm is moving at 28 kilometers per hour east-northeast and will continue to move away from Florida and pass to the north of the Bahamas during the day. Weather authorities forecast a gradual weakening, but Milton is expected to become a powerful extratropical low on Thursday evening.
We're focusing on just recovering, getting help to people that need it. Again, this community was hit from what the Dopplers are showing. We got hit the hardest, the quickest. Again, we say this wasn't expected. We prepare for things, but you can't expect or do anything when we have multiple tornadoes touch down in such a short period of time in our community. It's devastating. There's no words could describe it.
And as Hurricane Milton leaves Florida on Thursday, authorities registered deadly tornadoes, many homes destroyed, and over 3 million customers without power. Tampa Bay metropolitan area appeared to have escaped without the catastrophic flooding that had been feared. Milton pounded cities with ferocious winds and rains, whipped up a barrage of tornadoes, and caused at least 4 deaths. And after forecasts of weakening, Hurricane Leslie regained strength on its northwest Atlantic track with maximum sustained winds of 130 kilometers per hour. According to the National Hurricane Center, despite the additional strengthening forecast for the day, Leslie will weaken until early next week. Haiti is located 1,645 kilometers east-northeast of the northern Leeward Islands and is advancing at 17 kilometers per hour. A slight reduction in forward speed expected, and it could make a turn to the north-northeast during the next few days. It's important to note that this hurricane is expected to reach Category 2 by Thursday. In Niger, authorities reported at least 339 people dead and more than 1 million displaced after heavy rains. In a general assessment by the Civil Protection Service, the country faces an unprecedented humanitarian crisis since June. Authorities also reported losses in infrastructure, livestock, and food supplies, which directly affect the economic and social stability of the country during this rainy season. Weather experts warn that climate change intensifies this type of phenomena. The Interior Ministry informed that in September alone, there were 273 deaths and more than 700,000 affected, figures higher than those recorded in 2022. And in Haiti, the mayor of Saint Mark, Miriam Fievre, reported that criminal gang attacks have resulted in 115 civilian deaths. The killings by the Grand Grif gang in the early hours of last Thursday morning, whose victims include women, children, and the elderly, resulted in more than 120 people injured by bladed weapons and firearms. The injured were treated at Saint Nicolas, the closest hospital to the scene of the incident. This has caused that about 6,000 inhabitants left their homes to survive the atrocious massacre in the city of Pont-Sunday, causing civilians to temporarily stay in the city of Saint Mark.
I was hiding with my son behind a vehicle, and two men appeared and walked towards me. One of them said, "Don't shoot her." But when I ran, the other one shot me in the back.
Venezuela's Minister of the Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, assured that Washington will initiate relations with Caracas as of 2025 with the purpose of stabilizing the world oil market.
Whether it is Kamala or Trump, the United States will begin in 2025 a partial understanding with President Nicolas Maduro to ensure the stability of the world oil market, putting the economic interests of both nations above ideological positions. The recent conflicts in the Middle East have placed the United States in another scenario, and as demonstrated, only Venezuela can ensure such stability.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Wednesday, Brazilian citizens regained access to the social media X after the Supreme Court lifted the suspension of the platform in the South American country since August 30th due to repeated non-compliance with court rulings. Through a statement, Brazil's National Telecommunications Agency notified internet service providers of the unblocking of X. Nevertheless, the agency clarified that the unblocking time will depend on the measures used by the suppliers depending on their specificities. The unblocking of X was decreed on Tuesday by order of Alexander de Moraes, the federal Supreme Court judge in charge of the case, after the platform unpaid fines totaling 4.7 million euros imposed for several contempt of court charges and investigation against disinformation. In the Caribbean island of Martinique, police repressed demonstrators in Rivière-Salée city during protests against the high cost of living in French overseas territory. Throughout last Wednesday, the situation became increasingly tense in the region, with people forming barricades at different points. Several organizations and trade union associations denounced the disproportionate use of police against men, women, minors, and senior citizens peacefully demonstrating against colonial repression. Union leaders participating in the demonstrations urged all sectors of the country to join the demonstrations in response to the island's colonial status and social inequalities. In Mozambique, vote counting is underway on Thursday following Wednesday's national election in which the ruling Frelimo party's candidate is likely to win. 4 candidates ran for the nation's presidency, the leading Daniel Chapo standing for the Frelimo party, his main contender independent Venancio Motlane, in addition to former rebel commander, also from Made, and opposition leader Lutero Simango. All are competing to oust President Felipe Nyusi, who has served the maximum 2 terms allowed. With official results still on hold, the elected head of state will receive a legacy that includes an Islamist northern insurgency, which has prevented multi-billion gas projects and led to the forced displacement of hundreds of thousands. In this context, a voter shared his opinion on the potential outcome.
Yes, yesterday I cast my vote. It was good. These were very good elections. A lot of people have been going to vote. Even until 8 p.m. people were still queuing. We are going to have good results and things will change.
On Thursday, France's major left-wing parties reject Prime Minister Michel Barnier's government's budget proposals. The parties deem that the budget cuts of the conservative Michel Barnier have attacked the French social model. Coordinator of France Insoumise, Manuel Bompard, assured that the draft budget estimates, which is marked by a total effort of 60 billion euros, reflected the most violent austerity plan the country has ever experienced. The situation of the French public accounts has come to the forefront of the market's news since Macron called early legislative elections after his severe electoral defeat in the European elections of June 9th. Author Han Kang became on Thursday the first South Korean to win a Nobel Prize in Literature awarded by the Swedish Academy. Kang's work characterizes by her depiction of mental and physical suffering as well as historical events. Her major international breakthrough happened in 2007 with the novel The Vegetarian, which won the Man Booker Prize in 2016. The Swedish Academy has long been criticized for its Eurocentrism and the overrepresentation of Western white men authors among its winners, where only 18 out of the 121 laureates were women. After undergoing major reforms in 2018, the body has since honored 4 women, including Kang. Regarding the Nobel Committee 2024 pick, one of its members backed the choice.
So short stories, novels, poetry, essays, and she has this really intense lyrical prose that's very special. Once you get to know her voice, you will recognize it everywhere, even if you read her, as I have done, in different languages in translation.
In Paraguay, the 4th Latin American Special Olympic Games have been underway since October 4th, and closing ceremony will be held on October 12th in Asunción. The Special Olympics' goal is to boost inclusion and diversity in the region, empowering individuals with intellectual disabilities to become physically fit, productive, and respected members of society through sports. Over 1,000 athletes with intellectual disabilities from 23 countries have attended the event, accompanied by over 2,000 volunteers to support players, as guest nations are Germany, Belgium, and Spain. So far, they have been competing in athletics, swimming, futsal, basketball, and bowls. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.